Impact of climate change on human society and natural ecosystem. So as our climate changes, human societies will respond to these changes differently, and the impact of climate change on these natural systems will be different. So there can be some impact which will be easy to mitigate, and there can be some impact which will be very difficult to mitigate. However, the impact on natural ecosystem is most of the times irreversible, so that's why they are very important. Here we will take an example of mangrove forests. So these forests grow in shallow saltwater coastal regions and provide protection uh, for coastal areas from erosion, storm surge, and tsunamis. These mangrove forests help the coastal areas, especially during periods of cyclones and hurricanes. And these mangroves are getting impacted as a result of climate change, which is an irreversible process. Then, after mangrove forests, so we will see another impact on the natural system, which is very micro but has got very large implications. So that is related to pollination. So pollination by bees is a key part of the growth cycle of for many of the crops, and especially for the economically beneficial crops like apples, blueberries, almonds. And as the climate shifts and ecosystems get impacted, so uh, the benefits which we get from the ecosystem, as for example from the pollination, so that gets disappeared. So in some areas like in China, there was a decline in wild bees that has forced farmers to hire people to go from flower to flower and hand pollinate them using tiny brushes. Now you can imagine how difficult this task would have been for the farmers who have hired people, and how costly this would have been for the farmers. And this task was being carried out by the natural ecosystem itself. So uh, once natural system gets impacted, so generally this process is irreversible, and this has got huge economic implications also. Now another worrying part is that the warming of climate is not linear, as greenhouse gases are added to it. So climate system will undergo a large and rapid shift to an entirely new climate state. So this is known as climate tipping point. We have seen slides related to these tipping points earlier. Now an example of this tipping point occurred around 12,000 years ago. So when Earth was coming out of the last ice age, so the temperature in northern hemisphere decreased several degrees on a time scale of decades due to disruption in the ocean currents. So, so this was the major reason of decrease about 12,000 years ago. Now, researchers are working on the potential abrupt changes, which can be termed as climate tipping point. So, some of these changes are shutdown in Gulf Stream, then rapid disintegration of West Antarctic or Greenland ice sheets. Another example can be permafrost and methane hydrates. One example can be shift in the timing and magnitude of the Indian monsoon. Now, for the scientists to assess the probability, it is very difficult to assess the probability of a tipping point. For this, scientists have developed climate models. These models at present do not reliably predict the occurrence of an abrupt climate change. The probability is very low, but not zero in the coming century. But an abrupt change can have very catastrophic impact both for humans as well as natural systems, because the rate of change would be so high for these kinds of events that it will be a big challenge for humans as well as natural system to manage, and it will be a huge uh, risk uh, for the ecosystem.